Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 15, Episode 6, Saved by the Mariachis, which is hilarious when that comes up in the episode. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. If you are returning back, then of course, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below, join in on the conversation as these couples, this episode, there is so much. There is so much. Normally hear me out, this is a quick therapist review, and I'm going to try my best to make this a quick therapist review because there's so much going on in this episode. So much. So let's get into it. First we have Krysten and Mitch. And Krysten is meeting with the ladies. The episode starts off where the girls are having brunch and the boys are sipping tequila and doing tequila tasting as they're in Mexico. And I just came back from Mexico and it is amazing. So it was kind of cool. I was having a moment. And so Krysten is kind of updating the ladies. She's finally going to talk to them about what's been going on between her and Mitch. And she's very complimentary. There's a part of her that does a lot of complimenting. So she's letting the girls know that she respects them. It's like she's like setting the tone. Like she's preparing them for the bomb that she's about to drop about how Mitch has been really showing up in their relationship and her experience of him. And she also stated that she wants them to be Team Mitch. Like she wants them to not bash him. She's really trying to be protective of him and be supportive of their relationship. And this is very mature. I see her trying to control how people respond to Mitch's behavior towards her and making a request to remain supportive of their relationship. So the girls are taking this in, and some of them are struggling with her request. Alexis definitely is. She's like, Team Mitch, Team Mitch, Team Mitch. She did, talk about how he did say that he is first not attracted to her, and then the same day tried to initiate physical intimacy with her, and how that was just very jarring for her. And she said she's going to set some boundaries. Like, this isn't going to happen like this. She's going to set the pace for the relationship. She later talks to Alexis and pulling on her strength, and there's a place I want to go down and have a conversation about that. Black women and strength have definitely been married, and we've talked in depth about, I have had conversations and then have definitely even processed it for myself about the title of strong black woman. And I don't know Krysten's intent. What I do know is that she's leaning in on her strength and her wisdom to help her navigate this situation, as she's befuddled. She's befuddled on how to honor this relationship and honor herself at the same time, and trying to figure out if she's bending too much for Mitch. And Alexis gave her really great feedback saying, hey, you are the person. You're the only person to answer that question. She has to listen to herself. If there's a question where she's feeling like, am I bending too much? Then that's something to continue to listen to and observe and feel for yourself. Do you feel like you're betraying yourself? Krysten did say that Mitch is getting more engaged in the relationship. He's talking more about the future. And I do agree too with Alexis, and I've talked about this in previous videos about Mitch. He is very slow to warm. He's very slow to warm. He needs lots of reassurance to bring those walls down. I feel like Mitch has a lot of internal conflict with himself and within himself, where he even creates distance from him. And this rebel, this part of him that likes to cause a scene, he uses that as a way to create distance too from other people. And so having someone join you at first sight, that's a lot for him. That's very overwhelming for him. Am I giving him a pass for his behavior towards Krysten? Absolutely not. Just explaining it. Krysten did say that she feels like she's walking on eggshells. That's something for her to note. That shows that if she's feeling like she's walking on eggshells, then that means Mitch really has a lot of unresolved wounds inside of him. And he's making Krysten responsible for navigating those wounds instead of him taking care of himself. and managing his own triggers or wounds, and he has to attend to them. I did notice this episode that they didn't get a lot of camera time, and I don't know if that was intentional or if there was just so many other things going on with the other couples. Krysten was watching him surf, saying she was enjoying that. There's a part of me that questioned if she really was enjoying that. I mean, just watching him surf. Maybe she was, just to be happy to see him in his element. Mitch said that he was really concerned about the work-life balance, as he is very, very entrenched in his work. And I remember Krysten's mom saying, this is going to be an issue for you. I agree. I think that this is going to be a lot. I get the sense that Mitch is very ritualistic, has a hard time with change, and has a hard time introducing things into his life. And so Krysten, being a whole person and a schedule with feelings and all that, that's going to be a lot for Mitch to navigate. And so it'll be interesting to see how this is navigated. During the dinner, Krysten talked about how she is very busy and she's always doing something. And he said, well, I find busyness attractive. I think that Mitch is definitely feeling some regret for the things that he said, and he's trying to truly make up for it. I'm really curious about how Krysten is internally receiving this, if she truly trusts it, or if she feels like this is a result of that ultimatum she gave him last week. I do feel like that ultimatum is going to shut him down. It's going to potentially put him in a space where he doesn't feel safe in this relationship. He's going to close up even more. He even made a request of her of like, hey, I actually see how what I did was not okay, and I gave you mixed signals. Where I feel like things maybe went wrong in communication, it's almost like he made a request of how she's supposed to respond to that situation. That felt, a little controlling. And there's a part of him that's saying, hey, that ultimatum really shut me down. So hear me out, give me a chance to prove myself to you, and at the same time hold me accountable. Don't let me just treat you any kind of way and not call me out on it. I need you to call me out on it. I want you to call me out on it. And so there's some promise there. There's some promise there. Krysten stated that things have been moving well in the physical department, and she thanked him for that. There was a part of me that felt conflicted about that. Like, I don't know if that just needed to be acknowledged versus her thanking him for it. And at the same time, I don't want to, police her. It's just thanking someone for being physically intimate with you, coming from a space of like they're doing you a favor. And I don't know if that's her intent of it, but that's how I received it while I was watching it. Next, we have Stacia and Nate. And so Nate is with the guys, and he initiates the conversation about sex. Nate stated that they haven't had sex yet, and Miguel's not buying it. He did kind of give this lecture about how he felt that moving too fast with physical intimacy can backfire and mess things up, and that really miffed Miguel. And it didn't seem very genuine. It didn't seem like it was coming from a place that was like authentic to him. The editors did add music on top of it to make it even worse. And at the same time, it didn't seem true to Nate. Stacia did share with the girls about their physical intimacy and how they had their steamy shower moment and saving the water, and how she is really taking her time in regards to being physically intimate with Nate. Stacia planned a cute little date for her and Nate. They did a little picnic outside, but they both don't like bugs, so that was some comic relief. Nate talked about how, he really likes little things and little gestures, and things don't have to be big and grand. And she said, yeah, I'm listening. And he said, yeah, I feel like we're listening to each other. And she stated that the thing that really stood out for her that he said was that he's not intimidated by her. And she said that's something that she has experienced a lot in her dating world. And it's the reason why she's been single for so long, because of the things that she's accomplished. Stacia also opened up about her journey in therapy, and Nate praised her for it. But then she asked if he would be open to couples counseling, and Nate's body language was a bit like, ooh, this is uncomfortable. And I understand it. Counseling is a lot, especially couples counseling is a lot. And so I'm curious about what he's uncomfortable about, like what exactly he's afraid will happen in couples counseling. But he did say that he was open to it. I like Stacia's stance on counseling, that something doesn't have to be wrong, right, for you to do it. You can go to build skills. They said both of them have not been married, so this could be a great tool for them to learn some tools and some skills to help their marriage. I wish all couples thought like this. Stacia later in her confessional stated that she's hoping that she's getting the real Nate. And so then that said to me that there's a part of her that questions that. There's a part of her, if she's got this hope, then there's a part of her that's saying, is this guy really being real and true? I have that same part. I have that same question. I really don't get the sense that I even know Nate really, and how he connects with Stacia is a bit stoic. It's not showing a lot of emotion. He did share some emotion with her mother and her friends, but I'm not seeing that same Nate when he's connecting with Stacia. And he's only coming from a space really where he's wanting to really be physically intimate with her. That's what I'm seeing. Let me know if you see anything else, because I want to be open to the fact that he is being true, that he is being truthful, and he is being authentic in this process. I just don't see any evidence of that. Nate did say that he hopes that this connection that they have continues as they move in together. We get to see a little softer side of Stacia as she's connecting with the girls. And she had a concern about Lindy, if she felt pressure to have sex with Miguel because she stated that she wasn't. She stated that she wasn't, and Stacia was actually like reliving, and it was activating a wound for her of in her past experiences being pressured to have sex before she was ready in order to maintain a relationship. And she really wanted to make sure that Lindy was honoring herself. It was also really interesting to see how Stacia received Lindy and Miguel's experience and observation of Nate, of how he is curated, they said, and he's really into his phone and videotaping everything. And they're really concerned about if he's really being genuine. And Stacia was open to receive it. She said, yeah, and I have that same question. I have that same worry. I'm curious if there are parts of her that felt some type of way, if it felt defensive, because I know there's a part of Stacia that is very hopeful about this relationship. She's moving him into her home that she's building for herself. She is keeping his last name, like she's changing his name, and she wants to keep his name, which is a little interesting to me. But I know that there's this little girl that we talked about last week that's really hopeful about this relationship. So I'm curious about how that part is receiving Miguel and Lindy's critique of Nate. Yes, there's a part of her that questions if he's being real and honest with her, and there's a part of her that is hoping for this to be what she's always wanted. And we kind of see this a little bit at the dinner as Stacia perks up a little bit once Miguel talks about how he's showing up in this relationship with Lindy, like he's being measured and saying like, I'm going to see after 2 months, like I'm just going to see. And that I'm sure activates something for Stacia, as she is like, this is something that she has always wanted, and Lindy's coming from that same place. She probably sees a lot of Lindy in her. And at the same time, she knows what Miguel thinks about Nate. And so then she starts to ask a lot of questions of him, and then here comes the mariachi band. But then she does, after the dinner, tell Nate like, hey, I am questioning whether you're being real with me. And, I really applaud her transparency with that, to let him know where she is. He did respond in a way that I, again, don't feel as genuine. He said, I'm falling in love with you. The tone, the body language, his eye contact with her, all of it just felt very stiff. It felt very robotic. Maybe that is just Nate and how he shows up. And I'm really hoping that he is not playing with her feelings. I just get the sense he is. Next, we have Alexis and Justin, or should I say Mr. and Mrs. Dr. Pepper. This episode, this couple, they were experts, weren't they? They were coming from their place of wisdom. You'd think they've been married for 15, 20 years. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but they are definitely in a good place, right? So they're in a good place and they're feeling it, right? They're feeling that they're in a good place. Justin talked to the guys about how they haven't had sex yet, but they are getting comfortable with each other's bodies. They're walking around naked and just feeling comfortable and creating physical intimacy that way, and how Alexis is respecting his boundary of celibacy, even though she's openly complained about it to everybody. Alexis is allowed. She's allowed to be annoyed about the fact that she wants to have sex with Justin, but she wants to honor his celibacy. I'm going to give her that grace to be human. And also the editing was funny because Justin is in one scene talking about how Alexis is very understanding of the fact that he's sensitive, and how she sees like, yes, you're sensitive, but you also will, you'll tell somebody about themselves. So, you have that balance. And then she's with the girl saying, oh my goodness, it's so hard to be mindful of his feelings, as that's not something that she has within her naturally. It's a work. It's an effort. And this is the work of marriage, that she was saying like that she didn't feel like it was hard. This is the work. When your partner is pulling on something that you don't have it, and then you have to work to build this skill, that's the work of marriage, or even communicating honestly with each other about it. Alexis stated she feels guilty. She feels guilty that he considers her in every single thing that he does. Justin has that. He has a part of him that's very accommodating. He has a people pleaser part that is very, very active when it comes to Alexis. He wants to show up and show out in a way that a man should show up and show out for her. And so she is feeling guilty that she has to work so hard. Alexis and Justin are on the sailboat together after they have rowed it out in the ocean with each other. And they're both feeling like things are going to be great because they've been great. They're going to stay great. I think that Justin is coming from a place of having this ideal. You see it also when he was talking with Binh, that there's the perfect wife, the perfect husband. There is no such thing. That is very mythical, right? And I feel like he's putting pressure on himself to be perfect, and he's also putting pressure and expectation for Alexis to be perfect. And so we see this kind of in this sailboat moment where he's catching the sail and he's like, see, I saved you. Like, see, I was the perfect husband in that moment. And it was cute and it was endearing. And at the same time, I'm really concerned about Justin's expectations and pressure that he's putting on himself and Alexis. And when they fall short, what's going to happen? Now, I don't know if it was just me, but did you guys hear when Alexis was talking to Krysten that she said that her superficial ways almost blocked her from the biggest blessing of her life? I think that Alexis is feeling stronger about Justin more than she wants to let on, and we even see it at the dinner as she is confessing her love for him, and things are moving well for them. Now, where things got a little dicey was when Binh went to Justin about his conflict with, or his feelings about this unresolved thing between him and Morgan. And Justin really, really identifies with Binh. He sees himself in Binh, and he really got worked up. But you also see where he's very protective of him, and Alexis is coming in to be protective of Justin because Justin feels some type of way, and they are inserting themselves into Binh and Morgan's relationship at the dinner table. And it's not to say that Alexis didn't say things that Morgan needed to hear, but you can tell it's definitely coming from a protective space of like, what about Binh? Well, how's he going to show up in this busy work schedule you have? As Justin is very much like Binh, like, so she's coming in to be very protective, and it came off as a bit too confident. I would say just a bit too confident in their relationship. I'm glad that they are confident in their relationship, and at the same time they're going to have bumps and bruises just like everybody else. And just because they've had a smooth sailing thus far doesn't mean that it's going to continue to be that way. And yes, they have some tools. They have it. I mean, you see how Alexis was able to hold and be present for Justin's feelings. Yes, it was a lot, right, to deal with in that moment for Alexis, but she was able to validate him and to be able to walk him through that. And he was able to receive it. She didn't demean him in that moment. For sure. And really what Justin was, again, identifying with the part of him that has felt that pain, and that was being activated within him. And so he was just really resonating with where Binh potentially is with Morgan. We did see where there is a little space where Alexis tends to kind of pick at Justin in a joking way, and talk about his sensitivity, his looks. And I'm just curious if there's any time where this sensitivity that she knows Justin has is going to get in the way. It feels very much like Vincent and Brianna a little bit. So I get the feeling that this is going to be an issue in the future. Next, we have Lindy and Miguel. This couple was very interesting this week. Very, very interesting this week. Lindy stated that things are moving very well, and she opened up to the girls that they consummated their marriage, and she said it was beautiful. It felt exciting. Miguel also shared that same sentiment. He said that it was much more passionate than he was expecting it to be, for someone that he just met, and so that it was really beautiful. And at the same time, he joked about like the religious aspect of it in his confessional. I really feel like this is going to be something that is going to play out in their relationship. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen there, as there's definitely a part of him that just maybe feels like religion and spirituality is not something to take serious. And it is something that Lindy does take seriously, even though she's not in the church. Still, it is something she takes seriously. Lindy said that it felt really natural and there was no pressure. And I don't think that Lindy is truly being honest with herself. I do see that there was a lot of pressure that Miguel was putting on her, as he was talking about it constantly. And then after she said that, she really wants to wait, after that, then he asked her if she wants a massage. It seems, I don't know this to be true, right? It seems that he was trying to persuade her and kind of push through that boundary that she had put up. There's a part of me too, that when Lindy was talking with Stacia, if she did feel a bit defensive, how Stacia was concerned about the fact that Lindy stated that she was not comfortable, and then now she has had sex with Miguel, and she talked about, well, we've had really great conversations, and no, it was beautiful. I promise I don't regret it, and there's been a lot of shame about sex, and I just need your support. And then potentially, I don't know if this is out of defensiveness, you tell me what you think, as she then talks about her experience and her and Miguel's experience of Nate. Lindy talked about how Miguel's checklist is becoming a bit overwhelming and creating a lot of pressure for her. Could you imagine being a person who has a part of them that is an overthinker, as a way to protect, like want to make sure, okay, I have this, and then you have a person who has like this kind of vague checklist. It seems like Miguel's checklist is very vague. He's not saying exactly what he wants. He's just saying, I got to see if it fits, if it feels right for me. And that's not giving Lindy a lot to work with. I imagine that inside of her, she is stressed. She's really stressed. And then he notes that, hey, I'm going into this saying, I'm marrying a stranger, so I might not like this person. And so 2 months down the line, we might be together, we might not. And Lindy is coming from the space of, I'm getting married at first sight and committing sight unseen. I'm going into this situation saying this is my husband forever. And so this is something that I wish that the experts would ask to every single person, because this does play a huge, huge role in the relationship. If you have one person that's took the leap of faith and jumped in, and you have another person that is more methodical and is taking a more cautious leap in the step, just like one step at a time, and we'll see how it goes. That can be a lot. That can be a lot, especially in this situation where Miguel is a thinker, Lindy is an overthinker, and he's not very communicative about his feelings. We also see at the dinner table where where Miguel is saved by the mariachi band as it comes up to everyone else that Miguel feels like 2 months, let's see. And a lot of people feel a certain way about that, and how that is very uncomfortable and scary for Lindy. And at the same time, while people are being protective of Lindy, she comes in to be protective of Miguel. The mariachi band is playing and she reassures him like, it's okay, I'm not worried, we got this, babe, we're good, we've had so many great conversations, we're okay. And it's almost like she is soothing herself in this moment, right? She's talking to herself because she is scared. She has said it multiple times. She is scared. She just said it to him when they were paddleboarding, that she's scared about the fact that he's not fully in this process, that he is taking it one step at a time. He's not taking it as a commit automatically, that he's choosing to commit day by day depending on how things go. I truly don't feel like Lindy is listening to all of her parts. She's not listening to all of her parts that are talking about how they're really feeling about this relationship with Miguel. I think Lindy really wants to make this work. And so she's ignoring the parts of her that have some doubts and fears. She's also really trying to persuade him, as he talked about how he really wished that the person he is today was at the altar when they got married, because he knows more about Lindy. And so having that background information would have made the day feel more special. So then she talks about how time is really going to help them. See, time is going to help. Give me 5 months, give me 5 years. You'll see that our relationship can grow. This can grow. And she really, really cares about him. And you see that she's like, hey, stick in this with me. Don't quit on me in 8 weeks. There's a part of her that's using a lot of we language to try to convince him that he feels the same as she does. And so this was different from last week, where she was more saying, this is how I feel, and I want to check in to see how you feel. Now that they have consummated their marriage, it feels like it's a much more risky thing for Lindy, and that she really wants Miguel to stay. She really wants him to stay. Lindy also introduced this new part of her to us and to Miguel, as she said, like, hey, I'm a little concerned about how you're going to respond to me and my work schedule, because there are times where I work and there's times where I don't work, and I fought really hard for this, and I like my freedom, and I don't want you to say anything about what I'm doing on my off days, and if you're going to be offended. And he stated that she's worrying too much. I feel like maybe she's not communicating her boundary well, and also that she's letting him know that an old wound is people trying to control her in her relationships. She wants to be free. She wants to be, and she needs to be free. And I feel like this is coming from the church stuff and even her family, as they are very controlling, as we experienced them in the earlier episodes. And so we'll see how this plays out. If Miguel will feel some type of way about when Lindy takes some time off, if this will be a place where they can compromise, and he can use his skills of communication to be able to let Lindy know how he feels about it without feeling like she's being controlled or restricted. Last, we have Morgan and Binh. Morgan and Binh are getting settled in at their honeymoon. They had their first night together and they're cuddling, and Morgan is very, very attracted to Binh. And Binh seems to be really reserved in his like affect and how he presents his mood. He only really jokes. He uses humor a lot in awkward conversations. And so I'm still getting to kind of learn Binh a little bit. He even when he communicates from like a very like timid place. He's not conflict avoidant, but you can tell conflict is a thing for him. It's a lot for him to manage, and he tries to be measured when it's happening. So the couple has their first dinner together, and it feels very awkward. They're really focused on the other couples and how they're progressing, and then Binh asks this question of how are they going to progress their relationship. And so now watching the full episode, I think I get where he was coming from. He feels like him and Morgan are connecting on the superficial things, but he really wants to get to know her childhood, her, all of her upbringing, And maybe Morgan is more guarded with that, and he feels like that's like stagnating their relationship. That's what I feel like he's getting at when he was communicating to her, like, how do we progress? How do we move this? How do we 10x? He said this relationship. In my mind, I was like, what does he mean? But I think that's how do we fast forward this thing? How do we move forward? We only have 8 weeks. I really want to get to know you, and I want you to get to know me. How do we connect? So you can see they have this really playful energy, and there's a sexual tension that Morgan talks about. And they are at the beach together, and Binh talks about how he has some concerns about what he asked for. There were some expectations and some very strict things that he asked for, and money, finance, those are very important to him, and honesty. And he felt like Morgan was dishonest to him as she is still in her bachelor's program. And maybe Binh is not aware that if you have an associate's, you've completed your nursing program and you are an actual nurse, but nurses can continue to get a bachelor's and master's degree to advance their career, and they get paid more if they have a higher degree. And so sometimes, I don't know if this is the case, I know sometimes there is like a shame factor for only having an associate's degree in the nursing field. Even in the mental health field, there are some specializations that feel superior than others and things of that nature, and there's some biases and all that. So that's what I'm picking up that's happening for Morgan when she's saying like she wanted to keep that secret. And also because that's something that we see later on in the episode, like, impacts how the other couples are seeing their relationship. Binh shared with Justin his concerns about Morgan lying to him, which we later find out wasn't necessarily completely accurate, right? And now Justin, of course, he's sharing this with Alexis, and we see how later in the episode, Alexis and Justin are all emotionally invested in something that has already been cleared up between the two of them. Justin and Binh are talking about this at the basketball court. He really gives Binh some pretty horrible advice, saying you deserve a perfect wife because you're the perfect husband. And this is coming from, again, his lens. I'm hoping that Binh will be a little bit more centered in his approach in regards to Morgan. It seems like he is taking accountability and wants to rebuild his trust with Morgan. And at the same time, I'm really, really concerned about Binh's expectations of what his wife was supposed to be. It was supposed to be these boxes checked, and Morgan's feeling, abandoned, and her already having that wound from her relationship with her father, and her really wanting a husband to say, look at my wife, that's my wife, I'm proud of her, look at her doing all these wonderful things. And at the same time, right, there's this dichotomy that's happening within Morgan. Part of her wants her husband to be proud of her. Look at my wife. And at the same time, she wants independence to do what she wants. She doesn't really want her husband to need her necessarily. And I understand that. So there was, at the table, Morgan was talking about how, the pandemic has been really stressful. And when she gets home from work, she just wants to decompress. I'll even be transparent. As a therapist, I have those same issues where after I get done with my clients, especially if it's been a long day and I've had a lot of clients, the last thing I do is want to listen to someone else. Well, that's not really fair to my partner. That's not fair. And I have to make sure that, one, I'm taking care of myself, and I'm also being present for my partner. Same with Morgan. There's going to have to be some give and take in this relationship where Binh's needs are going to get met. It really feels like, though, that Binh is looking for a traditional wife. Morgan is anything but that. Her system is almost like bucking against that traditional system because she wants to be a woman of her own. She values her independence. It is a way she protects herself. And I'm curious about, with her not having that trust there, with that being broken now, what other defenses will come up? What other defenses will come up as they're getting to know each other and trying to work through these issues? As Morgan said, I usually walk away. When my trust is broken. Now she's in a situation where she's going to have to make it work. She's going to have to sit with this and really get to the issue of the part of her that really doesn't want to rely on people for fear of them leaving her, for fear of rejection, for fear of abandonment. And then here's my 2 cents on Binh going to Justin for some support, for some help, and how it transpired at the dinner table. I do believe that if you have an unbiased party that is in support of your relationship and hold each other accountable, is going to take sides. That is a person or a couple that you can utilize to help support your marriage. Unfortunately, what gets in the way is that, we're human. We have our own experiences, and we see that Justin's stuff, his past experiences, is showing up and impeding on him being unbiased in how he's supporting Binh, and maybe not completely even considering or even giving Morgan a little grace, as she is human too, right? This can be a sticky situation. It seems like even a lot of the couples this season are they're a bit more open than past seasons, and that can be really great to feel really supported and to connect, and also that can lead to some interesting dynamics that happen in the group that we're kind of seeing here between Stacia and Lindy, and between Alexis and Justin, and Binh and Morgan, that this can kind of cause some division just because, again, old wounds are being activated by other people's stuff and taking it personally, and there's this feeling of trying to protect this person because their stuff activates you. And sometimes that is what happens. And so if the couple that you're speaking to, or the person that you're speaking to about your relationship, hasn't addressed their stuff, it can lead to some biases. They will start to use their methods of protection regarding your situation, which may not fit for you. Or they may try to intrude on your relationship and insert their opinion when you don't feel comfortable with that. So let me know your thoughts. This was an eventful episode, okay? There was so much going on between these couples, interacting with each other and in themselves. Do you feel like Lindy is really being true to herself? Do you feel like Miguel potentially pressured her too fast? Do you feel like Nate is being authentic? Is he really being himself? Do you feel like Stacia was being protective of Nate when she was asking Miguel those questions at dinner? Let me know your thoughts. And of course, if you're still watching, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, be cool, be calm, be centered. Peace.